name is Toni Santiago, and I wrote my paper on corporal punishment. Corporal punishment is the use of physical punishment, and it should be illegal in all 50 states. It is given by teachers, daycare workers, sometimes even coaches and administrators. It is legal still in 19 states, Florida being one of them, and illegal in 30 states. I believe it should be illegal because it relates to physical abuse. It can cause long-term effects on children psychologically, and it is destructive to children in numerous ways. I believe corporal punishment is a crime while others believe that it is used to make children listen, and even though it starts out as giving a troubled child discipline, it still is inflicting pain on that child. They're experiencing pain, and many of them don't know right from wrong at such a young age. It can lead to children being at risk and even becoming depressed in many cases. The biggest form of corporal punishment used today is the paddle, and it was used way more often back then. It is not used as much now, but it is still legal, so of course it is still used. Depending on the amount of force used by the person who has the paddle, paddling in schools can cause visible marks on children, like a red mark, sometimes even a welt or an extreme bruise. I read about a little boy. He was in the 4th grade. His mother gave permission for him to be paddled if he misbehaved, and I believe it was 2 days later after he was paddled, he was complaining about sitting down. His mother was worried about him, and she took him to the hospital, where the hospital doctor noted that he had a 6-inch long, 3-inch wide bruise that was shaped like a paddle. That is extremely and utterly upset to me. I can't believe that someone would hurt a child in this form, one who probably didn't even do something to deserve that type of discipline. It's not even discipline in my eyes, it is physical punishment. Paddling is a part of numerous schools' regulations and consequences, and it is misused by teachers. Some of them take advantage of it, while others use it just to make children listen. I personally believe we cannot make children listen. We cannot make children do anything. We can't inflict pain on them just for them to listen, because in many ways that child will act out and be more upset. It will do more harm than it would good. Sometimes daycare workers use spanking as a form of discipline for children who can't even defend themselves. Many children that go to daycare, they act out. Many of them don't have their parents around, or many of them have parents who have their priorities just a little bit messed up, and many of those children crave attention. They want to know that they're loved, and they do things just to have that one-on-one with a teacher, even though it's not good sometimes. It's used to try and get children to listen and obey rules, which in my opinion only causes more problems. Forceful spanking on children, it is used in daycares. I've witnessed it actually. It can cause children to scream and cry, and it can even cause the daycare worker to get even more frustrated with them, which causes them to use more force. The ones who are constantly spanked or put in timeout are left thinking that they are the issue, that they are the problem, even though many of them don't do anything to begin with. Some of them may do a minor problem and they receive such a terrible thing like that. On to my second point, paddling and spanking. It gives children negative outlooks on the school and on the person applying this form of discipline. Corporal punishment is hostile and can make the child scared to go back to school, and that causes attendance to rise and misbehavior to rise as well. Once a child is known for misbehaving, they will eventually be left filled with negative thoughts and can be bullied by others as well. Many children don't always know what to do when they are in this predicament or in this issue, in this situation. Many of them are looking for their parents to help them, and many of them don't know what to do. They aren't responsible for that kind of thing. They shouldn't be in constant fear of not knowing right from wrong at such a young age. Those who spank or paddle too hard leave the child with severe risks and severe injuries. Even worse than that, leave the child scarred for the rest of their life. If a child is constantly abused when they're younger, they're going to grow up thinking that abuse is okay when they're older. that causes them to abuse their children, and it's just a long line of abuse. I read about a situation where Adrian Peterson, who was an NFL player, he turned himself into the police because he allegedly hit his son with a switch wire. I'm not sure if you guys know what that is, but it's a wire that has points sticking out of it. He used it as a form of discipline on his child, which is extremely upsetting and heartbreaking to me. On to my third point, corporal punishment has long-term negative effects on children. It's traumatizing to them, and they can live with fear for their entire life. They're not knowing how to encounter a situation, and they have to come up with excuses constantly and try and figure out what to say about their bruises or what they have on their bodies. There have been some cases where children have received brutal consequences that are so extreme for the act that they even committed. Any drastic event that took place in a child's early life, it will be with them for their entire life. It can still have the same effect on them as it did yesterday, and if it was even 10 years ago. It's extremely sad. When children are exposed to such negativity, that is what their lives are consumed of. Victims of corporal punishment tend to be socially awkward, even aggressive, and sometimes have mental health issues as well. Even crimes that relate to physical abuse are committed by people who have experienced physical abuse or emotional abuse, and sometimes even mental abuse when they were younger. Corporal punishment can leave children feeling neglected by their parents and by even the people who are supposed to be taking care of them and making sure that they are okay throughout the day when their parents aren't there to take care of them. The opposition side would say that corporal punishment is effective to children, but I say it is not. They think that it is okay for children to be basically beaten for what they are doing. Many children don't like the word no. The facts and statistics prove how corporal punishment falls under the category of inhumane acts rather than effective discipline. It is still legal in 19 states, and in order for this to be effective, it either needs to hurt the child or embarrass them and scare them into listening. We cannot scare children into listening. We have to communicate with children. We have to get on their eye level and tell them what is right and what is wrong. Tell them how they should have acted, and we should always listen to them and make them feel loved. This statement right here, it shocked me. The very acts of corporal punishment are permissible when applied to children in schools under some state laws. It would be prohibited as criminal assault or battery when applied to adults in the community. This was extremely shocking to me because one of them is against the law and illegal, while the other is encouraged against children as effective discipline. There is no comparison. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Many children are victims of neglect and have parents who are unfortunately not able to pay attention to them, which leads them to acting out and misbehaving even more. They crave attention because they don't get it from anywhere else, and every child learns differently. Some may need to be spanked and whatnot, but you cannot spank a child who is not your child unless you have permission by that parent. But a paddle and switches, all these things are just ridiculous in my eyes. It is way too much. In conclusion, corporal punishment is not an effective form of discipline, and it should be illegal in all 50 states. Many teachers, administration, and parents take advantage and inflict pain on a child who disobeys the rules. Therefore, it is easily associated with physical abuse. The effects are destructive to children in more ways than they are beneficial. The psychological effects are overwhelming as well. The disadvantages outweigh the advantages by a long shot. Corporal punishment should be illegal, and hopefully one day it will be. Thank you.